Well, hello. It has been a while since I recorded for the last time, and mostly just either been busy, been working on some stuff, and overall life. But that's not why you're here. You are here at this video because you were intrigued by you know, the content. My channel originally was supposed to be a horror-related channel. I quickly deviated from my original intentions as I found content that I also liked, making, and I thought that people would enjoy it as well. Um, Much to my surprise, yes, people enjoyed it, and I derived a lot of pleasure from keeping on making it. I have a small audience. I'm in no way, shape, or form a big channel, but I like what I do, and I like the people who watch me. And as I was saying, my original content was supposed to be horror media. Ever since I was young, much to my parents' chagrin, I always loved horror. It was such a fascinating thing to me, that primal sensation that we fear, the fight or flight response. It just felt ecstatic. And I found myself delving into the media more and more and more. It was addicting. What could I say? So, I decided one day that I would make a YouTube channel where I would play horror video games. This was this channel. I eventually deleted all my old videos because I didn't feel like they were, good enough. It was like old, free game jolt horror games. Surprisingly enough, I never played Five Nights at Freddy's on this channel, but it wouldn't. If I still said that I did, no one would bat an eye. Time flies by, and from then I have changed a little bit of my interests. Horror counts and wall counts, which non-tangentially, I'll remind you of the subject of this video. I wanted I was recently browsing Steam and couldn't help but notice a lack of horror games of Lovecraftian type. Not lack in the sense of there are not many of them. Oh no, there are way too many of them. Just I feel like there are not enough of them that are either interesting or that fit the category properly. See, not ever since, this has been a recurring problem, but there is a thin line that distinguishes Lovecraftian horror from Gigeresque horror, which, again, another type of horror that I absolutely love. Alien was one of the movies that I watched the most in my entire life, and it shaped me from the beautiful biomechanical designs to the intense atmosphere and Sigourney Weaver's amazing acting. I just can't forget that movie. It's beautiful. Um, Till no, something I saw compared to was Scorn being compared to a Lovecraftian game, which I feel is not the case. Scorn has that biomechanical environment, those brief allusions to sexual content and things I cannot say in this video without Susan taking the video down because, new Susan, I don't know if he is as strict or not as old Susan, but I'm not gonna, tempt the gods of fate, one might say. Um, so, now you may be wondering, what makes Lovecraftian horror so different from, uh, Geiger horror? It's the thematics. As I previously mentioned, Gigeresque horror verges on the themes of biomechanical, of sexuality, repressed fears and emotions. Things that are human, but not quite. A little bit of a. It leaves you with this pit of uncomfort with how it treats its subject. It is rather weird. one could say. But now, what makes a Lovecraftian game? Not game, Lovecraftian content. Lovecraft had most of his writing based on the fear of the unknown, a cosmic intelligence that we may not be alone in this universe. This may not even be our planet. Maybe we're in the dream of a blind idiot god who, when he wakes up, everything will be taken away from us. It's beautiful in a certain sense, don't you think? And it reflects on those emotions, on insanity, on desperation, all of those things that are so primal to us as humans. And how there are some things in life we will never be able to understand, and we should just accept it. Now, to present some, you know, I can't just say here and say this. To present some stuff, we can talk about Amnesia: The Dark Descent. That is an amazing example of Lovecraftian horror. People delving into family secrets deep, dark, and buried, coming across changed, the sanity, slowly losing one's mind, and let it twist and crumble into madness. Another good thing I could mention is Bloodborne. Despite being an action game at heart, it plays off the Lovecraftian theme beautifully as Miyazaki masterfully made this game, keeping everything in mind from the egregious body horror to the themes of insight, slowly losing your mind and seeing the amygdalas perch up on buildings, ever so intently watching you. Something that has been there all along, but not until the late game have you noticed that. So along with the moon presence. Another thing that I feel like represents the series very well is Darkest Dungeon. The insanity mechanics, coming across an eldritch truth, as I so mentioned eloquently before. Something that corrupts from the inside. Things that are not comprehensible, that cause very reasonable reactions on your party members from fear, insanity, and just breaking down and having heart attacks. Hmm. Another thing we can touch on is the beautiful, the lovely Tormentum. This game, in fact, is a Gigeresque game. It is biomechanical in nature. It was, if I am correct, this was one of the few games that Geiger actually helped make back in the good old days, quote unquote. And you can notice it. The themes are incredibly different from the body parts, and it looks more like a twisted reimagining of something we know. The touch, the appeal, the blood, those green, toxic, swamp like colors, also familiar to us. And not to forget, you know, Dark Descent, another game he directly made, and again, a lot of themes of sexuality, a lot of themes of the bad touch, what makes us desire, the biomechanical nature, and the strange twisting of intent in our natures. It is something deeply beautiful but perverse that keeps us like this. And to finally touch on another example of a Gigeresque game, look none other than Axiom Verge, a beautiful Metroidvania where you're plunged into a world of biomechanical abominations of incredible knowledge and power that seem to be driven solely by instinct. Thinking of it lightly, there are a lot of examples of uh, Metroidvanias with really good horror themes. Like, this isn't the only one. If you look back at Metroid, you can see that most of the designs are very much inspired by Geiger. From the statues to even Ridley. something that you don't really think about it until you look at it, honestly. But all of that aside, I feel like the two themes shouldn't be lumped together, as it would be a little bit diminutive of both of them. They both have their strengths, and they both should be treated as different kinds of horror, as they appeal to two different groups. Maybe you don't want the body horror that a Gigeresque game presents, or the biomechanical nature of it. Maybe you want something more obscure, something where the villain isn't exactly out there for you, something you can't see, something you can't understand. The mystery element, which is present in Call of Cthulhu, for example, or in Bloodborne, because despite you being able to fight these things, there's this looming sense of helplessness. Meanwhile, we can go for example, Alien Isolation, an amazing game. It really puts in the fear for you as you're hunted down by this thing that looks like a mockery of everything you hold dear and love. A biomechanical aberration in its nature, hunting you down. Phallic imagery is very much present, and the whole concept of something invading your body can send shivers down anyone's spine. Again, two very different subjects, and I feel like they should be treated not as rivals or as the same thing, but as equals, maybe. Something where we can appreciate both of them, but still keep them separate as to better find what drives us and what we want to expect in our media that we consume from our day to day. It's rather simple, actually, if we think about it. But, you know, most shops just bundle everything together and hope that you buy something that you really didn't want to, and you can't go, oh, I didn't like this. Oh, well, too bad, you can't refund it. Steam has a very lax uh, refund policy, so that's not the case, but that doesn't mean it isn't the case for other shops. I'm still from a time where buying media physically was incredibly prevalent, and for me, it still is. I prefer it that way. Even though CDs do have a lifespan, I still very much appreciate the physical tact of it. The little instruction manuals that are lost to time, or the little stickers that come with the games. To end this off, as I feel like this video is long enough and I don't see a necessity to push this beyond a certain mark just to look for something or attention. I hope you guys liked this small video. I enjoyed making the script for this and reading it for you guys, even though it's just a bunch of bullet points, to be honest. Um, I will be live streaming later this day. We will be going over Welcome Home, a lovely RPG made by Clown, and it has beautiful, weird Sesame Street vibes that I just can't get over. And apparently, the big bisexual clown himself. I hope you guys will be there present for our lovely thing. Just want to shout out to some of my friends, Sokaton Soldier, and even Boy90. And links in that will be in the description. See you next time.